Did somebody say slop? That's right, it's your boy, I Sorrow, back at it again to ramble at your faces about weird little things in Hoi 4. So for a game that's been out for 8 years now, Hoi 4 has a lot of content, mostly added through DLCs and updates. A few little patches have come out to fix a few of the broken stuff that I would call legacy content. Now a lot of this legacy content is kind of buried deep down in piles of update and just kind of forgotten in the deep dark dungeons, hoping that nobody will question it. One of the most resounding criminal things in this game is some of the first DLCs and the focus trees that got added with them. Alright, now no content deserves to be, showcased on a channel like this with a series called Slop, like Together for Victory. Ah yes. Back when the Great Supply rework happened, a lot of the old focus trees simply got a one-to-one translation from the focuses that gave you a infrastructure in a province to giving you a railway now, which is a little bit confusing because infrastructure is still in the game and railways aren't exactly expensive to build. So if you look back at a lot of these old focuses, you now have to spend 70 days to build a level 2 railway in the Northern Territory. After. Now I'm not entirely sure why you'd want to spend 30 days building a level 2 railway to this supply hub. Just for a comparison, in 56 days going up to partial immediately as Australia, with just 7 civilian factories, you could get that done in 56 days. You may be wondering, but what if I've already built it up to the max amount of railway it can go? Oh, don't worry. Hold your little hat on, because this might surprise you. Absolutely nothing will happen. Yep, you can finish that focus. There's no bypass on it, and you get nothing. Now, there are a few less egregious versions of this in the game, like the Maritime Colonial Railway for Canada, which does give you some civilian factories, build slots, and then, of course, the pointless railways. Hey, but don't worry, deep down in the depths of the Indian focus tree right over here, there's a couple more. Yeah, I mean, at least the Australians got like a level 2 railway. It's just 2 level 1 railways. And on top of that, on that 70-day focus you got to do there for those 2 railways, you then have to do another one right below it. Another interesting fact is that if you actually go on the air support effort and a lot of these old ones as well, they still give you research bonus for close air support models and naval bomber models, which if you don't know, they don't exist in the game if you actually have by blood alone. It's an interesting one. Now, you do still get the bonus for a light aircraft model, but the only problem is, I guess if you're a new player, you probably just would have no idea where to look for the CAS airframe. Another really great focus is in the British side over here in Reinforce the Empire and down to Fortify East Asia, where you get the option to hold Hong Kong, which makes sense. You definitely want to get those coastal forts there and that extra building slot for 70 days. The only problem is that the AI will never naval invade Hong Kong, so those naval forts are completely pointless, and there's not even a straight from the mainland into Hong Kong, so you still don't get the bonus that way. No, you can quite simply just walk into Hong Kong. There is no straight, apparently. There's just a giant bridge with a massive welcome sign. It's okay though, as soon as you've done hold Hong Kong, you can get those forts down here. For 70 days, you can get the 4 land forts, 2 AA, and 1 building slot. Let's just hope you get it done in time. Let's just not mention the fact that in the 140 days it could take you to actually do those focuses, you could have just built the forts yourself. What about the German tree, where you have a focus called Alliance with Italy? Has anyone ever had to do this before? Because if you go the historical path, there's literally no reason to ever do this focus, as Italy will always join your faction. And you may think, well, what about if you go the ahistorical route? Well, that's locked out. So what the hell's the point of this thing? It's pointless. It's absolutely pointless. One of my favorites has to be in the Czechoslovakian tree, where it has a whole section that is pointless. Yeah, you see, if you just go ahead, you just scroll along, you might notice something a little bit weird about Czechoslovakia. It has a naval tree. I don't know about you guys, but I can't see the damn ocean here. And you might think, oh, okay, if you do get access to the sea though, it's probably pretty good to get yourself a buff if you do want to go naval Czechoslovakia. Well, for 70 days, you can go ahead and get yourself 10 naval experience. 10 naval experience. This has to be one of the most pointless focuses in Hoi 4. 10 naval experience for 70 days of your time. Albeit, maybe at this point in the game, you truly have nothing left to do in this focus tree, and it's the last thing available. I mean, sure, okay, the rest of this tree, it does have some handy bonuses if you want to do a bit of late game Navy, but come on! It's made even funnier too by the fact you get your 10 naval experience over here for 70 days, and then right next to it, the very start of the game, you just get yourself 100 air experience, which makes me kind of think that this might have been a typo. Truly, there's just no way. I don't even think you can really get yourself a boat built for 10 experience worth building. But one of my favorite, absolutely pointless features that has been in the game since day one is the offer peace button. That's right, this button right here. Yeah, it's a very weird feature. It used to be called offer peace, but now it's conditional surrender from the peace rework that they did. But anyway, about it, it never gets accepted. Even if you could surrender to the AI, no. And I guess it could be used in multiplayer, but I think with the conditional surrender, it changed from the way the offer peace used to work, if I'm correct, where if you did offer peace back then, you'd send a peace deal to the Axis, they'll accept it, and then you'll go through the normal peace conference, and then it'll go back to you and you accept the terms or not. Whereas I could be wrong, because this is obviously a feature that's never been used in the entire history of Hoi 4. If you do conditional surrender now, it just goes straight into the peace conference, and they get a lower amount of points to actually spend, whereas if they had just finished you off, they get all the points. But any ways about it, it's completely pointless. Absolutely terrible feature. The only reason I can think of it maybe being used is if you were playing some multiplayer. But even then, I think there's probably mods out there and better ways to do it that are used more than this button. Now, we can't talk about pointless if we're not talking about the intelligence agency. But none is no more finicky and pointless than the coordinated strike operation. The way it works is it will be a surprise attack on the nation you launch it upon. So the way it works, for a brief period of time when you get the French off guard in this scenario, you'll be able to strategic bomb them and port strike without their air defense having any say in the matter, which, if you think about it, does sound good. The problem is, though, it requires 70% of your spy network to be up, and then on top of that, you only get a 30% chance of it actually happening. It also has to be executed in a single state, so you need to know exactly where the majority of the French fleet is in this purpose. So just, for bits and bibbles here, we'll just assume they're all over here in Calais, and we'll go ahead, commence the operation, and see what happens. The answer is nothing, because we failed. And again, guess what? It failed. Okay, we'll give it one more shot down in southern France and see maybe we'll get it lucky this time. All right, there you go. Finally, we got it through, and our bombers should now be free to bomb in southern France, where there are only 12 submarines. But they sure do be bombing. They sure do be bombing. I mean, we showed that submarine who's boss. Yeah, it's all a bit pointless, really. Now, I guess if you could guarantee where the fleet would be, but the problem is with the AI is that they split their fleet up into 10 trillion different little sorties. And now, because it is state-specific, even if you do go ahead and get lucky and the French fleet was down there, if you don't have enough bombers immediately to get it off and really do some damage, they're probably just gonna move it. It's a lot of effort and also a massive gamble for something that realistically is just never going to pay off. Oh, but here's another fun one. Planned false intelligence. After completing planned fake intelligence, you get yourself a whole bunch of pretend units. Yep, there is literally nothing in them. They don't exist, and if they get attacked, they simply disappear. Now, sure, in multiplayer, these might have a bit of a chance of fooling somebody. In single player, the AI doesn't really consider them a threat. They saw us frantically blowing into inflatable tanks and creating scarecrows in German uniforms and thought, that's a bit pointless. So, just out of interest, did you even realize that there's a button here? Now, I'm just going to say this off the top. I'm sure some people buy this game and actually do try the tutorial out. I, on the other hand, have never done it. So the tutorial gives you a few little starting objectives to get you going in the game. But I do have to say, it's more than useless. If you were just to be hot dropped into this game, seeing 0 out of 20 military factories are in use, what does that mean? Yeah, I mean, I have to give them credit. They do try and help you out, enlightening you on every tab you click. It opens a whole bunch of text for you to get started. But, yeah, I'm not too sure many people actually learn the game through this. Oh, this is gonna be one of my objectives completed. Look, I got all my armored cars being produced. They're useful, right? Right? Nah, I ain't saying it's bad, but I ain't ever heard no one in my comments say they have completed the Hoi 4 tutorial before, but I have heard loads of people say, hey, ISP, how do I play the game? Well, yeah, little Timmy, don't worry, they got a whole Wikipedia page for you to read on how to get started here. Okay, last but not least, it's the 1939 start date. Yeah, now outside of a couple little memes, one being obviously the achievement you need to get, I think, as Poland, where you hold out against the Germans, there's really no reason for you to ever play the 1939 start date. First off, just starting halfway through somebody else's game is a little bit confusing on its own. On top of that, what the AI actually has done, I say the AI, what the scenario the devs have done, isn't exactly a useful one for you to be immediately put into. I mean, it's 1939 and this is the plane they want you to build. It's not exactly very good, especially considering you should definitely have heavy machine guns by now, which is the meta for your plane builds throughout the entire game. Now, I won't say it's the most pointless feature in Hoi 4 because I can kind of see where you might come from if you want to, like, your computer can't run the game. What do you do this for? I mean, your path has already been chosen. There's not a lot to edit other than the achievement and maybe just pure curiosity. Do you really want to start in 1939? No. Now, this isn't the most egregious version of this. Paradox used to make a lot of these different time periods you could start in their games, but they kind of phased that out now, and it's not really a big thing. At least they try not to make it a big thing. Yeah, I don't think the 1939 start date is as bad as like the E4 start dates, other than the main one. They, from what I remember, are extremely broken because obviously that game has had just mountains of updates and DLC that it's hard to really go back every single year, I may add, and fix every bit of content to go along with those bookmarks. In fact, I think I might do a whole video of that at some point. I know a lot of people do like me playing other Paradox games, but I'm not exactly the most knowledgeable on EU4, but it would be funny to go through a few of those bookmarks. Leave a comment and like down below and subscribe and tell me you want to see that if you want to see that. Oh, actually, I have an interesting tidbit about the 1939 start date, but I have to go turn off By Blood Alone to show it off. So if you turn By Blood Alone off, or if you just don't own it in general, if you go to the 1939 date, and play as Germany. And back in the day, I'm not too sure when this got patched out. It probably was with By Blood Alone when they fixed the air and stuff like that. Germany starts with the Ju-86 interwar bomber, which if you look at it is completely maxed out. But back in the day, it actually started with a reliability up to level 10. And I've got a screenshot here, I think, if I can find it, of what it used to look like. It's just a very weird thing that was in the game. And hey, even looking through all the other variants that they have right now, it's still a bit of an outlier in the fact it does just straight up start with maxed out stuff. It's kind of just a weird little thing left in Hoi 4 that I guess nowadays you can't even see with the By Blood Alone update unless you still have the, you don't have it, I should say, but it's not even worthwhile building, even though it is fully maxed out. Even when it had that 10 plus reliability, it needed it because this thing, fully upgraded, has 40% reliability off the top. So yeah, it's just a very weird thing that's in the game, or at least it's only partially in the game nowadays, as they have gotten rid of its magical buff to go above the fine reliability you can put on it. Yeah, but that's just a bit of weird legacy Hoi 4 content. I'm sure there's more out there, and you guys can fill me in down in the comments if you guys can think of any, and maybe I'll do another video, round 2, from everything you guys will leave in the comments, and I'm sure there's plenty I've missed. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video and you enjoyed your daily dose of slop with ISP, please come back for more, because there'll be more.